So let's try to redeem ourselves here and not shut this board off today. Voltages you should look at right now. We're going to look at V-core, the back of the board. We're going to look at CPU Northbridge, which is actually SOC. And we're going to look at VTT, which is actually not VTT. It's CPU PLL. And we're going to look at Vin 11 inside the BIOS, but that's not Vin 11, that is VTT. I think it's VTT. It should be the board auto set the memory at 1.36 with XMP, which comes out to 0.68 in VTT, which is about what it's running at for peak. It's drooping a little bit. According to this, but according to this, you know, the voltages are what they are. They're really not all what they are. But anyway, let's try this again and redeem ourselves. No. I have a new meter today, but not because there's anything wrong with my old meter. I wanted to bring it back to my truck, first of all. Second of all, I need a switching frequency, do some testing, and I checked it on that meter, and I was getting readings from another dimension, so I spent all day trying to get new needle points for the damn meter, and I couldn't find any anywhere. Apparently they do not sell sharp pointing objects to anybody anymore. Can't imagine why. I mean, go driving around in traffic, you don't want to poke anybody with something sharp, do you? Anyway, I made my own little needle points. I don't know if you can see them that well, but there are indeed needle points. It's just phone wire taped to it. We're actually going to check voltage too. So let's just take a look over here. 12.096 would be what the motherboard is saying from the 24 pin. And the 24 pin supplies power to the PCIX. So I'm just going to pull a reading at the PCIX real quick. This board actually has, can't see what I'm measuring, but it has the 6 pin up top, which should be backfeeding, so 12.09 looks pretty accurate. Alright, so we've verified somewhat accuracy on this meter. It should have been showing 12.10 in my opinion, but it's not a fluke, so whatever. Alright, so before I actually do this, I need to point out some things. See if I can get you closer in on here. I'll show you what I have found on this board. So I guess I'll hold this while I'm doing this. The one I'm isolating right there at the top, that one chip, verified that to be PLL. I believe this one chip right here that I'm isolating is VDDR. This whole row is V-core. This whole row is V-core. This whole row is SOC, and this row is SOC also. So hopefully, this thing right here is what was shutting my board off. I have no clue what it is. I do not want to touch it again. These, I think, were V-core also, but I could be wrong. Really not sure what they're doing. These little chips all around here, no clue. I tested, I can't find any voltage with them, or any voltage that we need. One of the things I did not find at the socket is VDDP. Can't find it anywhere behind the socket. And the interesting thing is I can't find it anywhere in the BIOS. And I'll show you when we go into the BIOS that it doesn't even show an option for it. It's nowhere to be found. Shut this off for a second here. So we'll exit this out and we'll test at idle first. I believe I am set at 1.4125 in the BIOS. I can't remember my load line calibration settings at the moment, but we'll see when we go in the BIOS. Believe I have a manual set 1.8 PLL. I have auto set voltage, basically XMP, which is setting 1.36 on the memory. I have 1.4125 on the V-core and 1.050 on the SoC, which would be CPU North Bridge on this board. So, see if we can do this and redeem ourselves and not shut the board off. It sucks. I gotta do this twice because we want onload and offload. Alright, that's backwards. Don't worry. It's 1.818 right now, no load. And in BIOS it's still saying, in hardware monitor it's saying 1.808. Alright, on the V-core. It's backwards. Good contact. Hold it for a second. 1.406 holding at idle. And then we go to test North Bridge. That's backwards. We'll go to the next one up. Definitely backwards. We'll just flip it. 1.047, 1.048, fluctuating, so probably in between 1.045, 475 and 476. Alright, and then let's check the VDIM. That's backwards. About 1.361362, so it's probably 1.362 holding now. And let's see, we got 1.401 V-core in hardware monitor. We've got 1.056 SoC in hardware monitor. Actually 1.048. 1.408 V-core, 1.808 PLL, and 1.36 to the memory. Now, What was this V-core reading again? Come on, give me a reading. I can get my hand on there. 406. And the cap reads 1.41. I guess that's pretty acceptable for what I have set in the BIOS. Oh, here's a cool thing. Switching frequency. Of course, most people test this wrong. You can see it's all over the place right now. The reason why it's all over the place is because I'm testing wrong. So, you set prime. Something over here. Sure these are all running. Alright, so that's just sitting there, not doing anything. Doing nothing. All we did is launch prime. And all of a sudden, it stabilized. So they're running about 600 for the switching frequency on this board. And then if you go to the side, it zeroes out, usually. Or you just touch it with your finger. Shouldn't be getting any reading over here. You should only be getting a reading here. Then if we go to, come on, clear out. Then if we go over to SOC, see there are about 600 there too. One of these I wasn't even getting a reading that. This is like 1.767 kilohertz. But it's not reading. I don't know if it's because it's a doubler or whatever. But it's not steady. So I'm only getting it at two of the chokes for the SOC. Anyway, there's that's how you check the switching frequency. Pretty cool stuff. I don't actually think 600 is an option in BIOS, so I mean, this meter might be off a little. I think it's more like 625 because this is saying 592 and it's supposed to be like 600. So when we go in the BIOS, we'll check. Zero that out. Alright. Back to checking voltage. I believe it was this way. Or is it backwards? No, it's backwards. It looks pretty high there. 1.43. That's at the cap. And then if we go to the CPU itself, Come on, baby. Work with me. Well, 1.383 behind the socket. Quite a bit of droop from that cap. But it's where I want to be at the socket. I mean, that's what I tested my chip at. So this PLL thing over here. I got it backwards again. PLL 1.812, 811, 812. .365, 364 VDIM. People don't realize that when you slam VDIM into these near memory, you slam it into the CPU too. Right into the IMC. And then we got a test SoC. Of course, we're backwards again. So we're at 1.048 loaded. I'm asking for 1.050, so I'm happy with that. Anyway, I think you guys actually got to see the readings, hopefully in this video. Hopefully they were clear enough. Now, let's shut this thing off. And go into the BIOS. I'm actually going to put this down too. So I'm just going to shut it down for a second so I can put this down safely. Get this out of the way. Move you guys. Adjust that a little bit. Should be able to see my screen now. Just pull it down. Fans on. Alright, I think we're all set to go. Fire in the hole. Of course I can't reach it. Maybe I'll put you guys up here. Alright, this is MSI's BIOS. I really wanted to zoom out a little bit. Maybe I can do that somehow. Some boxes or something. How about this? Let's try that. Alright. You can see most of it. Maybe another motherboard. That'll solve the problem. Alright, that's better. So, here's your settings. This is nothing. System status. Advanced. You know, you've got all your basic stuff, but there's nothing really fancy in here. Narrated graphics we don't have. USB configuration. Power management, which, I mean, none of these things you really want to touch. You don't need it. I mean, maybe you want to disable that, but play with that. But, next, overclocking settings. I set this to expert mode. Hopefully you guys can see this. Maybe if we go like that. Alright, expert mode. Okay, CPU frequency, self-explanatory. Core performance boost, disabled. Down core auto. Buy onboard. I don't use this thing. That thing just is going to nail you. Now, I just tested this just to find out what it was doing. It basically sets 1.36 volts to your memory for whatever reason. It's auto sets it to 1.36 volts instead of 1.35. And I believe it jacks up these two voltages, which is your D channel A, VREF. It's actually VTT. Channel B, VREF, VTT. So 50% of 1.36 would be 0.68. This PROM core voltage, I've seen people ask, what is it? What does it do? Well, that is your south bridge voltage. So 1.050 is default for your south bridge. Don't know why they call it a PROM. Well, I actually do know why they call it PROM. But if they're calling it promontory. PROM is short for promontory. So PROM means promontory. It's your south bridge. 1P8 voltage. This is actually your PLL voltage. How does it help you on this board? It probably doesn't. If you have a ref clock board, sometimes it can help a little bit. This isn't a ref clock board currently, so I am not going to make suggestions of changing it. But basically, it depends on your CPU. Up or down can make a difference when using ref clock. The voltage that I said that they don't have is VDDP. This is not VDDP here. This is VPP. You don't need it. It doesn't do much. I mean, you can play with it, but it's not going to gain you much. CPU change detect. I swap a lot of CPUs, so I have it enabled. You can disable it if you're not swapping a lot of hardware and you should keep your stuff. But you probably want it. Just leave it alone. It doesn't affect anything. CPU specs, we don't even need to go there. CPU features. Spread spectrum, disabled for overclocking. AMD cool and quiet disabled if you're not using like a P-state overclock. I don't use it ever, but I probably would on a 24/7 overclock if I had P-state enabled, just because I like the function of my chip dropping down and then turboing up. So that covers those. Now we need to go into here. This is advanced DRAM configuration. Like I said, I loaded XMP just to check and see what they're doing. It does play a little tricks, but it's not playing anything that's going to hurt anything. 1.36 versus 1.35 is like nothing. 1.050, very reasonable. The gigabyte defaults at 1.1 no matter what you do for the SoC. So 1.05, I'm not complaining. The VTT that it jumps up, that's supposed to go up anyway. unless the board is like got an issue. It's supposed to go up when you change your DRAM volts. So you got all these settings. This should be your baseline setting, and then you can go down, up. I would go down, and then up, and then 2 down, and then 2 up. You should not be using 80 ohm. I mean, unless your chip is like really crazy, you don't need 80 ohm. Or actually, I don't even know if you guys can see that properly, so we'll go at an angle. You don't need 80 ohm. I'm running at 60 on this particular chip. As you can see, it's highlighted orange. So that's what I was at. I hate white BIOSes because it makes it hard to view and show people. So 53.3 is your baseline setting. Try that. Digital power. Go in at an angle so you can see what I'm actually running here. I have VRM over temperature protection at 100. That's the lowest setting I can run. They rate the DRAM VRM over temperature protection for 135C. That's the lowest setting I can do. It's like crazy. Anyway, thermal balance, I actually use them. I've used them on my personal Asus board for the longest time. T-balance. It's called T-balance on Asus, calls thermal balance on this board. I've used it for my daily 24/7 overclock for the longest time. My 2600K is still alive with a very aggressive overclock. My board is still alive with a very aggressive overclock. So, I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. You want to run them in extreme or standard or maxed out, knock yourself out. I like thermal balance. Optimized the phase control. Using mode 4 on the CPU, mode 3 on the Northbridge. This board actually goes up as you go down. So, actually, there you go. It's like the Tai Chi. Lower is higher. So, let's go over some other things. Switching frequencies. These are the options you have for DRAM. I am running higher to try and clean up the signal. I left the Northbridge switching frequency alone and the CPU switching frequency alone because I had no idea where it was yet. Now I know where it is, and let's go look at those because we saw what they were doing. So this one was at 600, so you can go 700, 800, 1000. I probably would not go that high, but you can do what you want to do. More heat, higher, less heat, lower. Cleaner, higher. Dirtier, lower. Anyway, I set it on auto for now. Northbridge switching frequency was around 600 also, so it was 600. That's actually on the lower end of the scale. Probably go up one. I might try it later. See how hot stuff gets. Like I said, once again, cleaner and hotter up, dirtier and lower down. Going down, you might be able to get higher overclocks for benching, but probably not for 24/7 stability. According to the stilt, Ryzen likes cleaner power. So you do as you please. Thermal balance was current balance. Current balance is basically based on current. Here we go. They've got a help section. Sets the current of every VRM phase and the thermal conditions of every phase component. Thermal balance will maintain the VRM thermal balance. Current balance will maintain the current VRM balance. So I just run thermal. It's probably not stock. like I said, this thing, they allow it to go up to 125. I got this thing set at the bottom. Don't know what they have it set at automatically. They didn't even have one for the CPU North Bridge, which I found odd. So I'm assuming that this one supersedes both of them. So those are the settings I found that worked for me. I had to play with the memory a little bit. I actually, once I found out what the XMP was doing, I set my voltage manually. I just don't like stuff controlling what I'm doing. M-Flash, obviously, that's self-explanatory. Board Explorer, it's a picture of the board. I have no clue. Click on something and I guess it tells you. Power button, ooh, I didn't know. Reset button. Oh, Clock Genie. System panel. So I want to know what this thing is, but they won't tell me. So this is a memory slot. I really needed to know that. Anyway, that's kind of dumb. I don't even think it needs to be in the BIOS. Clock profile is simple. You save it over clocking profile. You can load it from a USB. You can load it from a ROM, and you can save to USB. So you could actually, I could actually save a profile, send it to someone, and basically overclock their system for them. Except for the fact that they have different silicon than mine, and it probably wouldn't work. But it sounds good on paper. And then the last, we got hardware monitor, and this is where I wanted to talk about. See this? CPU VDDP. Where is it? Why don't I have access to it? So that's a curious thing. I heard rumors, but keep in mind, rumors. Take it with a grain of salt. I heard rumors that they were maybe doing a board revision. Because I can't find it at the socket. If they had an oversight and did not put CPU VDDP accessible, then that could be a reason why they would want to do a board revision, because I have found VDDP to help me greatly when trying to get the memory stable, especially when I'm going to 32 gig DIMMs and 32 gig populated period, like 4x8, 2x16, whichever config. I don't want to try 64. Other people have done it and it's awesome. I don't want to sacrifice timings or speed just to run more than 32 gig. So anyway, this thing is like, it's kind of clunky. I clicked on this and I set full speed and it was like done. That was it. So you don't want it, then I think I had it set automatic earlier. I think when I changed the setting earlier, it just automatically shut off on its own. So it has a little bugginess going on with it. So anyway, that's the board, that's the BIOS. It's more cracked up to be than what it is. I thought there was more to this BIOS, and it's honestly quite boring. This is the easy mode. It doesn't really do much. It doesn't offer you, it's just the same tab. It tells you your memory, G-Skill, tells you your CPU. So anyway, that thing is kind of like boring. F12 is a screenshot on this BIOS. You have not made any changes. Well, one other thing I wanted to test was let's try this. Let's see how good this board really is. Let's see if it can overclock better or higher. My best I've done on this chip was 4.1 in Cinebench at 1.475 on a little B350 board. It actually clocked better than any other board. I actually got through a Cinebench, and this chip, like I said, is flaky. So let's try something. Now, how I got through it was I had switching frequency set to the bare minimum. So let's give this board all the shot it has and see if it can beat my little B350. This is like a 3-line chip. It's really, really tight to push it to 3990. It's really asking a lot. It needs the voltage that I just set, which is 1.475 to do it. More does not help it. So if this thing can pass Cinebench, R15 at 4.1 right now, I'm actually going to sit here and watch, let the computer idle for a second, because that's what I did with the other board to get it working. So let it finish thinking for a minute, get the temps down a little bit, and then let it rip. Of course, if this board passes, it's still a $300 board versus an $80 clearance board. But one could say it has potential. All right, it's cooled down enough. Let's see if I get my error crash. Boom. Well, guess what? It did not happen. The little B350 reigns supreme for benching still. Anyway, that's the board. It's not bad. It's not great for 300, but it's not bad. I thought the BIOS was richer than it really is, but it's missing a lot of, in my opinion, it's missing some stuff for a $300 board. And I mean, like, the hardware monitor could be, I mean, this thing looks drab. So anyway, that's the end of this video, and I'm gonna put the Prime Pro X370 back on the board, back on the bench I should say, and test that. I gotta test some memory for someone, see if I can figure out some way for them to get their memory up to at least 2933, and of course I'm going to do VRM temps on that one and some more voltage testing. So until next video, see you next time.